There we go. So this is going down, that's the start finish. This is coming into turn 1. This is turn 2. Turn 2 is very long. Here's turn 3. Four. We're going to be doing the bypass, so we're staying on the left-hand side. Coming up into turn 6. This is turn 7. Ignore that, it's coming back. Turn 8. This is turn 9. Oh, and if you take a look on the left, this is the days the fires all started. I'll tell you a story about that. This is turn 10. Turn 11. 12. 13. This is 14. You see the flagger on the left? This is 15 here. And that is 1 lap at Thunderhill. All right. So for me, in that particular configuration, my time was 1:55.7, something like that. That's not to say that any of you guys should aspire to do that. Don't use time as any indication of anything that you should be looking at. As you guys in group 1 or in group D, you guys shouldn't, hopefully, are not even using timers. All right, don't use a timer. The worst things in the world for you guys is those on-dash timers that are showing you your existing lap time or your predictive lap time. They're really dangerous because at this stage in your career, you end up chasing a time, and that becomes a huge issue. The best thing to do is turn those things off. Once you've got many days under your belt and you are consistent with your line in that particular track, certainly you can add timers. They're a lot of fun, and they help track your data and see some of the progress that you're making, especially if you start doing modifications to your car. So Tony, when I was starting to come up and I started to do competition, Tony went and said, "Hey, you want to do a different type of alignment?" I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about?" He goes, "Well, we can get something more aggressive for you as opposed to street. The consequence to that is you're going to wear out your tires a little more." I'm like, "Let's give it a shot." 2 seconds I took off of my time just based on the alignment that Tony gave me. It was amazing. And so certainly there's things that you can do that would help. Hey, Michael, please don't step on that. Thank you. Afterwards, once you guys are a little bit more consistent with your driving, then start adding in timers. All right. So let's talk about Thunderhill and how do we actually do it. Give me 1 second while I get to my videos. You stand back there. Go back there, Michael. Sorry, Michael's a 6-year-old, and Michael wants to learn how to teach. All right. So here we come up to start finish. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start talking about turn 15 right here. And how do we do it? Actually, I'm going to start with turn 14 here.
That's not
the video. I'm not sharing the video. I'm just want the screen right now. All right, we'll go to the video afterwards. Okay. And so what we want to do is when we come up into turn 14, there is a berm right here, and certainly I can't emulate it. And by the way, this the track it's not to scale. It's not identical. It's not exact. And so it's close enough, specifically down here on turn line. And absolutely, it doesn't look like this. There's a whole lot more element to this, but this is a good representation. When we do turn 14, what we're trying to do is we want the car to set up on the outside, get hard on the brakes. There will be brake markers there, all right? And so you determine your braking zone based on getting on the brakes and off the brakes at a certain. Actually, that's a good time to start talking about how do we actually do brakes on track. So on the street, when you guys are coming up into a red light, normally, if we use 10 as the most amount of force possible on your brakes and 0, you're doing nothing. You see the red light coming. Most of the time, we start to slowly put on the brakes and we go from a 0, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, maybe, and then that's it when you get to the red light, right? Never are you as hard as you can possibly be on those brakes. On track, it's the reverse. So the way we want to brake on track is we want you to smoothly and controlled get on those brakes at a level 10. So what we would do is as soon as you start coming up onto the braking zone, transfer from the throttle over to the brake, and you hit those brakes hard, smoothly. We call it squeezing on the brakes. It's really hard to explain how to do it, but we don't want you to go and jam on it and engage ABS. Smoothly squeeze on those brakes, but do it hard so that it is a reverse. And you're going 10, 10, 10, 10, 9, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. That's how you do this. And so when you come up into your braking zones, there is a small, tiny little hash mark on turn 14 off on the left-hand side. It's a tiny little hash mark, and it may be very difficult to see. This is one of the times you should probably take a note of it and say, ask your instructor, you know what, Kev says there's a hash mark out here. I can't see it. Can you point it out to me? That's your turn in. Your turn into 14 is at that little hash mark, and it's very late, very, very late. So do you guys know the difference? Well, let me go back and start talking about an apex. Do you guys know what an apex is? Bert, do you know what an apex is? Kind of, sort of, maybe. Let me explain. So an apex is going to be the closest to that corner that you're going to bring your car. Okay, and so in the perfect situation, I'll do it from here. The perfect situation, if we had a 90-degree corner, and it's never going to be like that, we would start on the outside. We would find a neutral point to that corner, and we would wrap the car around that corner. We would hit that apex, and then we would track all the way out on to track left. Right? We brought the car in as close to that corner as possible. That is the apex. Now we can have early apexes and we can have late apexes. So rarely, if ever, will you ever early apex a corner on track. So if we were to early apex this, that means that what we do is we start here, we hit that, and then blam, look what happens. You end up off track. And so early apexing is bad. Turn 14 is a late apex. Okay, it's a late apex, but you have to turn in at that little hash mark. A problem, and it happens a lot, is that I call it cheating the corner. You need to stay all the way over as far to the left as possible until that turn in. And it's very easy to actually start creeping over before your turn in. So you're actually kind of early apexing that unless you stay all the way back. All right, so stay to the left of that. So we turn in here, right? We come around 15. There is a bump on 15. You absolutely do not want to hit that curve. That curving is dangerous, absolutely dangerous. And so the only wall really that you can hit at Thunderhill is right here. Okay. It actually, so this is the turn in to pit entrance. All right. If you hit that curbing, it can shoot your car out to the left, and An issue or a situation that people get themselves into is if they're about to go off track, they like to hook the car and actually try to keep it back on track, right? They feel that I don't want to go off. I don't want to get dirt on my tires. I don't want to get a black flag. So, and then invariably, a lot of the times they end up lifting. And so hooking the car, lifting off the throttle is the absolute worst thing that you can do, especially in this area, because the car will actually spin and slam itself straight into that wall. All right. I was at an event once, and you're at an event, you hear the squealing of the tires, everyone looks around, where is it? What's going on, right? Well, most of the times nothing happens, you just hear the squealing of the tires. But this time, unfortunately, we heard the thud, and we're like, uh-oh. Black flag, they went out, and eventually they dragged it in. This beautiful new Porsche had gone upside down onto its roof. And it was right there at turn 15. And we instantly know what happens when it goes into the thing. So, the first thing is, hey, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Everything's fine. He goes, the worst part is I told my wife I was, going camping or fishing or something. I can't remember what he said. We're like, dude, oh my God, that sucks. And then it was like, well, that's not the worst part. It's her car.
Oh, damn.
There's a million things. So honestly, we know what happens there, and it 100% is about that little bump at 15. All right. If it does shoot you out, you have this whole entire area is a field. And so the way that you handle going off track, if you're going to go off track, is you drive straight off track. You don't try to hook it. You don't try to save it. You just drive straight. And then once you're out in the field, you will get dirty tires. You are going to get grass in your fender, absolutely. But you slow down, you gather everything up, and then you bring it back on track where it's going to be safe. That is absolutely 100%. Now, guaranteed, you're going to get the black flag, and you're going to go in, you're going to talk to the guy, and he may say, are you okay? Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to take the rest of this session and cool myself down. I got a little crazy, and that is 100% okay. All right. But honestly, just drive straight off track, gather up the car, and come back on. Okay. And don't try to hook the car back onto track. Sometimes the drop off of the track to the grass is about like this. And so that is absolutely huge. You want to come back onto a nice, smooth or level spot. Pick your spot. At Thunderhill, don't ever stop out in the grass. All right. Even if your car is got a mechanical, you don't want to go into the grass, because though they keep that mode and they keep it trimmed, the grass on your catalytic converters or your exhaust could start a fire. And I'll talk about fires when we get back around to turn 9. All right. So you come out of turn 15 and you track all the way out to the left-hand side of the track. And what you want to do is quickly get back over onto the right-hand side of the track, because this is your very first passing zone. So the passing zone, the reason we say that is to get back over quickly is we don't want you to take this little meandering line all the way down to turn 1, because basically nobody could pass you at that point. And I'm not talking about coming out of the corner of 15 and then jerking it over, but come out and then get back over as soon as you can. If people are going to be passing you, allow them to go by. And remember, all the way out the window, as many cars as you need, you pull the hand back in, and then you point it back out the window. All right. So let's take a look and see. So once we get all the way over, we come up, we got start finish, and then we're going to get into turn 1. Turn 1 has a berm on it, and your apex here is neutral to late. The later you guys do apexes, the safer it's always going to be. Okay. So we have an ism on the track to go fast. Early apex as late as possible. I know it sounds weird, but right now what that means is try something safe that you're comfortable with and bring it back to somewhere where it's not. So this one is a neutral to late apex. The last time I was at Thunderhill was, I don't know, a month ago. They had some silly little, there were stupid little things like, I don't know, it was ridiculous. Little metal posts that easily could move. So what you're looking for is a cue, something that's not going to move. I know you guys are going to have cones out there.
They have like flies off the pole.
Which they did, and it actually had a little marker that was silly. They were absolutely silly. They don't mean anything. You guys are going to have cones out there at least on Saturday. Maybe they'll be there Sunday. Will you guys have them on Sunday? You're going to take them in.
We usually pull.
Okay, so assume that there's not going to be any cones there on Sunday. And so don't use a cone as a turn-in point or a focus point. Get a crack in the seam of the pavement, a different colored patch of grass, but certainly that's going to change. You're looking for something solid that's never going to move because cones are not a good indicator. But these brake markers, you could use them, but they may or may not work. Go for a mid to late apex and then track all the way out as soon as you can. There is a berm out here. You definitely want to use that. So let's see what that's going to look like. All right. So here we've come out of turn 15 and I'm getting over to the right-hand side of the track. That is turn entrance, by the way. And what we want to do is get all the way over to the right-hand side of the track, all the way over. Here's the apex of 1, and then track all the way out to 15. Or track all the way out of 1. There's something that's really important that I want to show you here. Give me 1 second. So turn 1 has what's known as a blend line. As you come out of the pits, there is a white painted line, and this is going to be at every single track that you ever go to. In the world, they always have a blend line. As soon as you come out of the pits, there's a white painted line. You need to stay to the right of that painted line every single time you come out of pits, every single time. So when you go out on your session, you always stay to the right of that blend line. And what that does is it keeps you safe, especially at the end of that front straight. Someone may be barreling down at 130 miles an hour. And if you instantly shoot over to the apex of 1, you doing 30, they're doing 130, you can certainly imagine what the problem could be. So this is turn 1. And let me zoom in, blah, blah, blah. Come on. There we go. All right. So you're able to see the blend line, which is right here. If I go all the way back, this is start finish. So this right here is what we call a K wall. And so this is a hard concrete wall that separates the hot pits. Oh, no, there's a blend line. Here's the K wall. So here's the K wall. This is the hot pits right here. And so this is that painted white line that I'm talking about. This is that blend line. So you need to stay all the way to the right whenever you come out, all the way around turn 1 until you exit this. It's critical. There's a lot of, there's a lot of rules on track, all right? And so the list is endless. It's longer than I am, the rules that you have to follow. Some of them are like, oh, you didn't do that. It's not that big of a deal. Just try better next time. Crossing over that blend line ranks up there in the top 10 of one of the worst things that you possibly can do on track. And so I want to instill in you as much as possible, do not cross that blend line ever, when you're first coming out on track. So a real thing that happens is, controls, give me 1 second.
That's when we're coming onto the track, but after that first lap, can we
Stop the share.
go to the left of it?
Yes, you want to. And so if we saw in my video, I actually, when you're out on track and you're coming down 14, 15, whatever, absolutely you're going to be crossing over that blend line. Now, there is a real thing. Let's say that you are so much faster than everybody else and you're absolutely stuck behind that one guy that or girl that refuses to look in their mirrors, refuses to see that there are people there, will not get you a point by. It's really, really frustrating. So you have the option to come into the pits. There's a universal sign like this that you would give the person at the start finish line. And that means, hey, give me some space. And they get it. Everybody gets it. So they're going to wait and they're going to look down to 1415 to see if there's a gap. And they'll let you go into that gap. Okay. You still have to stay to the right of the blend. You know, anytime you're coming out of the pits, going onto a hot track, you stay to the right of the blend. It's really, really important and really good. All right. So, but afterwards, no, when you're at speed, you just got to be cognizant that, you know what, somebody maybe the guy didn't see your car for some reason, he released somebody. You got to always be aware. Okay. So let's take a look at turn 2. Let's talk about how we do turn 2. Let's cancel this. Where did it go? So turn 2. Turn 2, by the way, we've got a crest that happens right here. My scale is all wrong. Maybe this goes to here. You know, I'm the worst artist in the world. I just can't see it. There is a crest between turn 1 and turn 2. It's a hill. It goes down, right? So you may not be able to see a car that could be stalled there. There is a corner worker here. It will always be manned, right? They're going to let you know what's going on there. That crest is a little bit of a dip. You come over it, and now you start to enter into turn 2. The apex for turn 2 is all the way on the other side here. So as we come around turn 2, the apex is here. Your entrance to turn 2, your corner entrance is about 3/4 of the way to the right as you enter into turn 2. So a problem with turn 2 is you're actually in that corner for a long time. It's very possible that you're 10 seconds in that corner from the time you start your braking till you enter all the way around until you get to that apex. And so it's difficult, especially if you've got target fixation and everything is starting to compress. Well, where was that apex? So a thing that I tell all my students is when you are entering into this area of turn 2, look out the driver's window and take a look at where the apex is supposed to be. It puts it in your short-term memory. And you're like, okay, I know it's over there somewhere. And as I get closer, I'm going to be able to pick it up, right? And so you slowly reduce that radius as you're coming around, and you get as close as you possibly can to the apex, to the side, the edge of the track. And then you unwind the wheel, you release the wheel, and you let momentum take that car out. We never want you to drive out there. We want you to release that wheel and allow the momentum of the car to go. Let's see what it's going to look like. So I'm going to enter into the track somewhere around mid to, I'm in a race, so I changed the line. I'm staying very, very tight to this, but we're going to want you guys to slowly reduce that radius. And then I hit that apex somewhere. Let's take a look. I'm going around. I hit the apex and I release the wheel and I track out all the way to the berm. All right. So that's what is, that's how we want you to do turn 2. Okay. Once you release that wheel and you come out to this berm somewhere around here, right? There's 2 different types of schools of thought on how to do this, right? There's a lot of people that want you to come out. Oh, by the way, we have another crest right here. We have some people that want you to come out and, you know, start half to 3/4 of the way. By the way, the apex is here, and then you wrap around this way, okay? I like to do a different line coming into here, and I'll tell you why. My line, I stay as tight as I possibly can to turn to the inside of turn 3, stay to the right all the way, and wrap your car all the way around here. And here's the reason why I do this line. Do you know what the difference between on-camber and off-camber corners is? So an on-camber corner, NASCAR, banks, right? They drive to the left and the banking is considered on-camber and actually helps them turn. An off-camber, that's an on-camber. That's on-camber. An off-camber corner would be a corner that is banked the other way, but they're still turning left. And gravity is shooting you down. That's an off-camber corner. Turn 3 is an off-camber corner. And so it actually banks away from you. And so the safest spot to be in turn 3 is actually right here in the upper area, because it's not off-camber there. And so a dangerous thing, when you go into a corner, when everybody is driving the line, right? Our tires get what we call snots, right? It's pieces of rubber that flake off the tire and they get thrown out to the furthest spot in the corner. We call these things marbles. Marbles get thrown out into the corner. Dirt gets thrown out in the corner because nobody drives there, right? Debris, anything gets thrown to the area that is not actually in use. If you stay on line, and the line is the most efficient way around that track. If you stay on line, you're going to be safe. There's going to be a lot of grip, or as much grip as possible, because everybody drives there. But if you go offline, there is no grip and all bets are off. Because there is a crest here, and because you're accelerating as you come out of it, if you are, and so the safe part that I make, if you want to come out, absolutely you can come out. Do not come out more than 1 car width. By the way, the whole entire track is probably 35 feet wide. 35 feet is a lot. You can probably get 3 car widths in there. Don't come out more than 1 car width. That's the safest. Anything more than that, if you blow your braking zone, you're going straight into an off-camber, into the marbles, you're coming off track for sure. But if you stay up tight, it's much safer. And you can do a technique, advanced technique later on, called throttle steering. What throttle steering does is it allows you to set the steering wheel at one angle and you steer the car with the throttle. Have you guys taken the car control clinic? You have not taken the car? And those of you who, actually you guys can't see me. There we go, that's better. Those of you that have not taken the car control clinic, it's amazing. So there is one element out there that's called the skid pad. And what they do is they put 4 cones, and it's more like an oval, and it works best in a manual transmission. I don't know. Get it into second gear, and you set that steering wheel, and you put your foot down on the throttle, and your tires are going to be squealing. And then when you get and needing to turn around one of those little apexes, you release your foot off the throttle, and the car steers around. Foot back on the throttle, and what you're doing is you're playing with the balance of the car. So as you put your foot on the throttle, all the weight transfers to the back, right? And the contact patch for your front wheels isn't as much, right? But as soon as you release your foot off the throttle, it's kind of like putting the brakes on, and your balance transfers to the front of the car, and the contact patch gets bigger, and you have more traction. And so going around, and so when I did the skid pad, when I did it years and years and years ago, and I figured out how to do it, I leveled up so much just from that one element. It taught me so much about the balance and traction and control of that car. Blew me away, absolutely blew me away. And it was strictly that one element. If you guys have not done it, I highly recommend you go to the car control clinic. There's way more stuff you're going to learn, but that one element is fantastic. But you can practice throttle steering in turn 3 because you set the angle of your steering wheel and you steer with the throttle. Let's see what it's going to look like. Where am I doing? I'm sharing the screen. So we're going to be coming down into turn 3. You're going to see I'm going to stay all the way to the right. I'm staying to the right. I'm staying to the right. And then as we exit, I'm going to release the wheel and I'm going to start turning into turn 4. Take a look here though. This is my data recorder. When it's green right here, you can see that that means I'm on throttle. And when it goes red, that means I'm on the brakes. So I'm on the brakes, I'm on the brakes. Now take a look. You're going to see the green, it's going to flash on, off, a little bit of red, on, off. That's me throttle steering, but I'm not changing the angle of my steering wheel. And I'm sucking in the car to the inside of that corner strictly with my throttle. It's an advanced technique. 100%. That, you know, there's no denying that, but it's something to work up to because of all the tracks I've ever been to, turn 3 is something that you can practice that the best. Turn 2 as well, when you start to get a little faster, you can practice throttle steering in turn 2 because your steering angle really doesn't change that much. What we don't want to see you guys doing is we don't want to see this, right, in a corner. We want to see a nice, smooth application of the steering wheel and then a nice release. But if you're doing this, and I'm not talking about the back end starting to kick out, you know, you're going to manage the car as best as you can. But if you turned in a little much and you had to correct and then you have to come back in to go find the apex, that's not what we're looking for. All right. So let's go into turn 4. Turn 4, not that big of a deal. Apex is mid. This again, certainly not to scale, but there is there's a berm out here. What we're looking to do is come out, hit that berm, come back this way, and now we come up to one of the scariest parts to Thunderhill, and that is that's the bypass. So the bypass is a blind point. As you come up this hill, you see nothing but sky. Very kind of similar to the corkscrew at Laguna Seca, if you've ever been there. But when you come up to this, you can't see what's on the back end. And the back end actually starts immediately turning away to the right. So you can't take the bypass straight. You can't take it straight. You have to actually turn just before you hit the bypass. So the way that you do the bypass is, and creep up on this. I'm not talking about you're going to go full send when you get there. It's scary. My last student screamed when we went over the bypass the first time. He's like, because you don't see anything. You see nothing but sky. And so at the top of that crest, what you do is you line up your car 3 to 4 feet from the left-hand side. 3 to 4 feet, nothing more than that. Nothing 5 to 6, and certainly not 1 to 2. It really is a very tiny window. 3 to 4 feet, and just as you're about to hit that crest, you turn the wheel slightly to the right. And what that does is it changes the angle of the car from being straight to now pointing to the right, where you're literally going to start falling down into the safe zone here. If you keep it straight, you're immediately going to run off the track immediately, right? And so it angles you here, and now it does another thing. This is called the crow's nest, or over the top, and where the two pieces of asphalt actually come together, where they have to make it, there's a seam, right? One's higher than the other, so at some point, it's a bump. And if you're too far over to the left or to the right, 6 feet, you hit that bump, it's very jarring and it's upsetting, right? It's a nervous-making corner, very, very nervous. When I went out the last time I taught with the BMW club, I was talking with one of the other instructors, and he's like, I'm terrified of turn 5. I'm like, why? Turn 5 is not that big of a deal. And so we worked through it. And as I talked him through the corners, I'm like, you set up 3 to 4 feet. He goes, wait. He goes, I don't do that. I'm much further off. I said, and you hit a bump every single time. He goes, yeah, I hit that bump and I hate it. I'm like, set up a little bit to the left. And he came back in afterwards and he was like, it was easy and it was smooth. And that's the most important thing. So 3 to 4 feet from the left-hand side. And that's the big secret. But you also have to turn just before the crest. You can't turn after the crest. So what happens when you get to the crest, the car gets light, right? The way suspension works in a car is you can't turn until the suspension sets and it locks that tire in place. There's no steering. And so certainly in our car, we feel like it turn instantly, but we're talking about the physics and the dynamics of it. As the car gets light coming over at speed, if you turn, the car isn't going to do anything until it actually drops back down onto that suspension. And you want to make sure that you want to do it beforehand so that as you come over, you're actually straight and then it comes down on the side. If you're turning to the right as you come over it, it's very possible that you'll spin because the back end's light now, right? So let's see what it looks like. I'm going to try sharing it this way. So that's turn 4. I'm tracking out of turn 4. So here comes turn 5. Take a look. I'm coming up and I'm pointing at the sky. You can't see anything. It's scary. It's very, very scary. And so as I come over the top, you're going to be able to start seeing the rest of the track. You know, you're going to see bridges in the distance. You're going to be able to see other elements. There's trees. You guys start picking up some points that are going to work for you. Ask your instructor, where do I want to aim my car? And they're going to help you out, right? So there we go. Now we start seeing something, and I come over, and I start wrapping my car around turn 5, bottom of turn 5. All right. So I make it look easy, but it's not. Turn 5 is not easy to do. It's scary. It's a timing thing. You're going to get your timing. If you need to put on your brakes at the top just to help you set, certainly do that. But I recommend that you just go slower and don't use your brakes. You know, slow the car down. The best thing to do if you feel like you're getting to your limit, just slow the car down 2 to 3 to 5 miles an hour. You know, it doesn't matter how many people are behind you. Just allow yourself the ability to open up your mind and process more information. And you do that by just coming off the throttle a little bit. You do not have to be what we call 10 tenths. 10 tenths is like 100%. 9 tenths is 90%, 80%. You get the point, right? Pull it back a bit and give yourself some room to learn the track, right? So turn 6, as you come down, turn 5, you turn just slightly to the right, wrap the car around, and stay all the way to the right, and you're going to come into turn 6. Turn 6, apex is neutral to late, and then we have this big, huge berm on the outside. So we come here, we go turn 6, and then we come all the way out. Use the berm if you need to, but don't rely on it, okay? Use it if you need to, but don't rely on it. Let's take a look. Oh, did anyone notice this? I missed it. Give me 1 second. There's 2 hash marks, right? There's one right here, and there's another one right here. Actually, I'm sorry. There's one right here, and there's another one right there. There's 2 hash marks, okay? As I play it, take a look at that. Your turn-in point is going to be somewhere between those 2. Actually, it's the second one. So your turn-in point is going to be the second hash mark. All right, look for that. Turn 6 is not as slow as you may think it is, but you have to get your timing down for the braking, and you have to get your turn in properly. Okay, take it slow though. Build up to it. So here's the inside berm. We're going to do a mid to late apex, and then we're going to track all the way out to the outside. All right. There's another flagger station you can see for, did we call that the turn 7 flag station? You can see he's on the inside right here. All right. He, she, sometimes it's manned by a woman. So for turn 7, oh, you guys couldn't see turn 9 at all. All right, we'll get there. For turn 7, it's very, very easy. It's a small little, you know, you just come in, just get as close as possible. But it is the first passing zone after this whole entire thing, right? People are going to be on your tail or you're going to be on their tail. One of the things to do, and it happens all the time, you know, for some reason they couldn't get it done before turn 1, but they came up on you and they will stick on your bumper like glue. It can be nervous making for some people. They end up driving their mirrors, worrying about the guy behind them because they think that they're going to hit you. They're not. And so there's a thing that I say, it's be the driver. When you're being the driver, you're not allowing anyone else to drive your car. So I'll give you an example. On the highway, have you ever been in the number 1 lane doing 70 miles an hour? Somebody comes up behind you and for some reason you don't want them to pass you, so you speed up. You've done that, right? Maybe you're the person behind and you're trying to intimidate somebody to speed up and they do. Well, as soon as that happens, if you're the one in front, you stopped driving your car and they started driving your car. You gave up control because you actually did what they wanted you to do. On track, it's the exact same thing. If someone is on your tail and you're in your mirrors more concerned about what's going on with them, then you stopped driving your car and they started driving your car. I know it's a weird concept, but don't let anyone intimidate you on track. And that happens a lot when you're coming out to a passing zone, right? What you can do is you can tap your mirror, let them know, hey, I see you. I'm going to give you that pass as soon as we come up to the next passing zone. It's communication in between drivers, right? And then hopefully they'll back off. And your responsibility is, as you come out of turn 6, get over to the left or the right-hand side, point them by, lift off the throttle, and let them go. Okay? 1.5 per car. Really, really important. Okay? They will try to steal this on you, and this is the most dangerous part of Thunderhill. For anyone to try and make a pass or to steal a pass is coming up to turn 8 because it's really, really fast, and it's really dangerous. And so,
excuse me, can I ask a question? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Right. So I just noticed that when you were talking about point buys, you just had your hand straight out the window. So the tracks that I've driven, we've actually pointed over the top of our car. Mm-hmm. So is that universal or is that track specific?
So that's a great question. It all depends on what side that you want the individual to pass. So as we're coming out of turn 7, we're going to be on the right, so we want to point them over to the left. When we're going to be coming up into turn 14, we're actually going to be on the left, and we're going to be pointing everybody by on the right-hand side, which is going to be over the top. And so it all depends. Now, what's really, really critical is there's 2 things that you need to learn during your racing career. We don't race, it's a driving career. It's to learn how to pass and how to be passed. All passes need to be done offline. Whenever you're going to be passing someone, you need to come offline to do that pass. The responsibility of the person actually being passed is to stay online. It is dangerous, even though there's a thinking, I want to be nice and I want to help. So I know they're faster, so I'm going to get offline, so I'm allowing them to go around me. It's unpredictable. The most important thing that you could ever do on track is to be predictable. As soon as you're unpredictable by trying to be nice and come offline, nobody knows what you're going to do. And unpredictable equals dangerous. So if you stay online, everybody knows exactly where you're going to be, and you point them by, and they will get around you. It's the responsibility of the person making the pass to make a clean, safe pass. It's their responsibility. Your responsibility, just stay online, lift, let them go. That's all. Easy peasy. And you guys cooperate. Okay? So, turn 8. Turn 8, oh my God, turn 8. Turn 8 is dangerous. I was terrified the first time I started to do turn 8. Didn't know how to handle it. It's scary. Where's my turning point? It's nuts. All right? Let's see, how do we do it? There is a nice piece of concrete. And let me get into Google Earth so I show you guys. Give me 1 second. I need to share this. Oh, here's Google Earth. So here's Google Earth. I'm going to come out. I'm going to get over to turn 8. Here's turn 8. So turn 8 looks pretty simple, right? But here we have, here we go. So we've got turn 6 over here. We track all the way out. Turn 7 is very simple. It kind of just straightens that out a bit. It's not that big of a deal. And then we've got turn 8. Turn 8 is the fastest part of Thunderhill. It really is, okay? In my car, I was doing 111 miles an hour at the apex. Okay, that's not saying that you're gonna do it, but that's just what it is. The problem with turn 8, and you can also see that coming out of turn 8, they have all of this extra runoff and extra berms. Use it. Use it. Do not try to hook this car if you're going to be going off onto the berm. Just use that as much as possible and don't really lift a whole lot. You can get into what we call neutral throttle or maintenance throttle, but don't just pull your car off because you are going to be loaded up to the right. And that's a real popular spot for people to spin. Look, you can actually see more, you can see all of the tire marks of people going this way because they lifted as they came out of turn 8. All right. So it can be dangerous. The other side of that is if you push too hard and you go straight off of here, this is actually a ditch / culvert. You can't see it when you're there, but it's there. If you happen to run out there, that's a spot that can flip your car. All right, so this is dangerous. Treat turn 8 with all the respect that it deserves. It's dangerous. All right, which is another reason why we don't want people to start stealing apexes. We call it stealing apexes here. One of the areas where you can stay offline to help someone is actually coming out of 6. So it's not a bad idea to stay offline here in 7. It's the only time I'm going to say you can stay offline is that helps people to get around you and get into turn 8. But the person you got to be concerned about is that 4th car, right? So car 3 and car 4 may be buddies and they're racing each other, whatever. And if you're going to become the car that sandwiches them, car 4 sometimes just wants to take it, right? And so you have to be really, really aware if you do stay out that car doesn't want to squirt through and leave you in a bad position. That's a real issue. All right. So what do we do? How do we deal with turn 8? The perfect solution is you want to mid to late apex turn 8. Okay. And it depends on where your turn in is. There's a white concrete, which I'm going to bring back up in Google Earth, but there's a white concrete patch. You want your tires on that concrete patch. So we talk about you need to use the entire track. You know, you rented the entire track, you might as well use the entire track. We say this because a lot of the times when you think you're close to the edge, you're actually not really close to the edge. You know, it's possible that there's 4 feet of track left, but you think you're close to the edge. Well, here, actually, I'm going to show you a video after this. Here, for Google Earth, you absolutely must use all the track and get as close onto this white concrete as possible. You want your tires touching that concrete. And here's the reason why. When you apex a corner, you want to be as close to that edge as possible because you're going to be tracking out and going to the far edge of the track, right? Well, if you're 2 feet off of the apex, that means you've lost 2 feet on track out. You just lost it. You just don't have it, which means you're going to have to slow down, which means it's possible that you have to lift, all sorts of things. Just get the car closer and everything will be, it will work out better for you. The flow is going to be there for that track much better. All right. I'm going to show you a video. I'm going to come back to mine, but I'm going to show you another video about what it means to getting as close to the edge of the track as possible. Second, I gotta find it. Hold on. It's my videos, spins and things. Got the slowest machine in the world. Everything. One, give me a second. I know it's here. Here it is. Okay, so at this particular event that I'm showing for my video, it was one of our national events. And so at our national events, I run with NASA. They set up static cameras in some of the corners because we live stream this stuff. So this is my buddy at home taking pictures of the turn one. And so this is national level drivers. And so this is how they're all taking turn one. And so I'm going to be coming up soon somewhere. That's not me. Here I am. So this is me coming out of 15, coming over. Why he had to zoom in, I don't know, but he did. Yeah, exactly. So he does it right. Boom. Ah! Give me a second. Let me back up. All right. My machine is so freaking sluggish. I'll stop at the right spot. But if you notice, stop. I had it. Oh my God. Did you notice how close I am to the right, left-hand side of the track?
Pretty close.
I am right there. And that's how close you guys need to be. There we go. That's how close you need to be every single corner that you guys are in. And so the weird thing about this is nobody else gets as close to the edge of the track as I am. I know where the corners of my car are. It's a talent that I have. Honestly, the skid pad absolutely teaches you how to get close to that cone. I highly recommend it. I can't recommend it enough. But that's what it takes. And so when you guys are any one of these corners, when I tell you to get close to an apex, I want you that close to an apex, right? Not 2 or 3 feet off. A lot of people think they are close to the edge of the track, but they're not. A good technique is put some GoPros on the side of your car. Actually see how close you are getting to the edge of the track. It's scary. And then all of a sudden you're like, Kev, there's like 2 to 3 feet still. What am I supposed to do? Creep up on it. Do not make huge, massive adjustments, but just creep up on it, and you'll start to reduce that. But that's an example of getting close to the edge of the track. None of the other cars were getting anywhere near that. Even my competition still left 4 or 5 feet. When I showed him that video, he's like, I'm like, you could have beaten me. But he didn't. All right, let me get back to Thunderhill. Okay, so here we are coming out of turn 6. The video is going to blank, but don't worry, it'll come back. Turn 7, and here's turn 8. There, I'm on that concrete. You can tell that I'm on the concrete, and I didn't even have to use all of that runoff. I actually could have gone faster through there, but I was too scared. Absolutely, I was at my limit, and it's terrifying. Oh, and by the way, fear is the biggest reason why you guys can't go faster. It's not the fact that your car won't be able to go any faster. Put it in the hands of Anthony here, and he'd school you. Oh, I didn't know. But it's fear that causes you guys to not go as fast. Just creep up on it, right? Everybody is afraid. So here we come into turn 9. How do we do turn 9? So turn 9, as we come out of turn 8, right? We have all of that runoff here. We come up into turn 9. Turn 9 is very similar to turn 5 in that it's blind. You're coming up over this hill and you can't see where everything is. It's very, very scary the first time because you don't know where your car needs to be, but it doesn't take more than a day to figure out how to do turn 9 properly, and it is so much fun. There's also another element to turn 9 that really enforces how you drive a lot of these corners. So a thing that I tell my students, you know, and I drill it into their heads, you do not get on the throttle until you know you can get onto the apex, right? And so if I have an ism, that's my ism. And it is a lot of the time, students will turn the car and they'll immediately get on the throttle and then they'll blow wide. I'm like, well, why'd you do that? He goes, well, that's what I do on the street. No, that's not what you do on the street. When you know that your braking zone is right and your turn-in is correct, and then you know you're going to be able to get on that apex, that's when you can get back on the throttle. And so turn 9 is an example of being able to get on the throttle a lot earlier than you would think. But again, you got to work up to it. So the way turn 9 works is it's blind, and it's so not to scale. This is absolutely not to scale when at all. But there will be a corner worker here. There's a crest here, and it's big, and there will be a cone here, and it's gonna stay because that cone is critical. It's usually, you guys put the large stanchion, right? Or do you put a little? It's a big one, right? And so what that does is it tells you where the edge of the track is. And the secret to doing turn 9, once you get to turn in, I'll tell you how to do that, is you find a neutral part of the track that you turn up. And what happens is as you turn up it, the track literally comes to you. You don't steer out to it, but it's like, are you sure, Kev? Are you sure? And then all of a sudden the side of the track is there. It is truly the secret. And when you get that rhythm down and you get your turn in, oh my God, it's amazing. It is so much fun. It is so much fun. But it also is, there's a trust thing there. The first couple of times, absolutely, you go slow and you win. You're going to turn in wrong and it's going to not feel right. And you're like, where am I supposed to be? Your instructor will work you through it. But it's about coming in, turning in, and aiming for a mid-track in the beginning because it's the safest. Don't try to think that, because you certainly have an ability to drive straight off that track. But as you turn in, aim for mid-track and you're going to see the track will come to you. Okay? Once you do that, you're going to track all the way out to the right-hand side and get back over as soon as you can, because this is another passing zone where you can let people by. All right, let's see what it looks like. It's also uphill. Brakes, 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 brakes. I turn in and you have to get close, but it looks blind. There's nothing. I turn in and the track comes to me. And then down you go. So, who remembers the Napa fires of 4 years ago? We all do, right? So the Napa fire started the day after this. And so if you all remember, the reason the Napa fires were so nasty is we were that massive windstorm. It didn't stop blowing 40 miles an hour. Well, it was blowing 40 miles an hour. This was on a Sunday as well. Well, one of our cars came out of turn 8. Oh, let me do this. I'm going to stop the share. So one of our cars came out of turn 8 and they spun. They came out of turn 8, just as I showed you in Google Earth, and they spun onto the inside and started the grass on fire. And that's what happened, and it burned the whole entire infield of Thunderhill. We actually had Coast Guard or whoever the air service is, they were circling us, because if it had jumped the highway, if it had not gotten stopped by turn 11 here, then we would have had everything. It was crazy. And then the weirdest part was our fire started that night, and we had already had some weirdness going on at Thunderhill. It's the only fire I've ever seen at Thunderhill that got out of control. I was sitting on grid waiting, and I'm like, what's taking so long? I look in my rear view and smoke is everywhere. Whoa, it was crazy. So that was that. So when you come into turn 10, you have to get on the brakes earlier than you would think. The reason is it's actually going downhill. And so the car, you know, gravity is moving against you. It's as if the car is heavier, so you have to get on the brakes earlier than you would think. Also, there's this really weird thing about turn 10. The closer you get, and I tell you, get as close to the left-hand side or the right-hand side as you can, it cambers off. So it sucks your car towards the edge of the track. It's really, really bizarre right here. Okay, you got to just be aware of it. This is another corner that is you can take faster than you think. Oh, I got to go back to turn 9. What was the element that I was telling you was so cool? When you know that you can hit your apex and you know your turn in is right, you're actually back on the throttle somewhere around here. You're very early on the throttle before you get into turn 9, if you know that you can do that. So come to turn 1. Let me talk to you about the elements of corner. There's 4 elements to a corner. There is corner entry, there is turn in, there is neutral to maintenance throttle, and then there's tracking out, right? Once you get onto the apex is generally when you would want to get back on the throttle. But if you know you're going to get on the apex, you can get on the throttle earlier, and that happens also here in turn 1. All these corners, if you know you're going to get on the apex, you can get on the throttle earlier than you think. But it is extreme here in 9, right? Oh, you guys can't see that. So I'm sorry. It's extreme here in 9. So you would get on the throttle much earlier than you would when you start getting used to it. So here we get down into 10. 10, you have to be on the brakes hard and early. It's a neutral apex or mid apex. It's very, very simple. And then we come out. There is a little tiny hash mark on the track of turn 11, and it is critical that you stay all the way right until you get to that hash mark. And it's late. It's very, very late. It's going to be very late like it is over here in 14. All right. This is an area because, and honestly, that's wrong. Maybe it's like right here, but this truly is how you need to do this corner. All right. Again, it's not to scale, but we want to straighten that out. When we get to turn 11, you stay all the way to the right. Now, this is an area that it's very possible that people cheat. They want to start creeping in over here. What's going to happen is if you creep in over on the side, what happens? It ends up becoming what type of an apex? Early, right? The closer you get to the corner before actually turning, it's going to become an early apex if you don't stay all the way to the right-hand side. So it's very critical that you guys stay to the right, and we're going to see what that little hash mark there. It's there. That's another note that you want. Hey, Kev said there's a hash. Oh, there it is. Oh, I got to actually hit that. That's my turner. So that one, that really helps. Let's see what these look like. So we come out of 9, over to the left, get back over to the right. Brakes, brakes, brakes. See how it's going downhill? This is actually on camber, which is faster than you would think. Now, you would think, I'm going to stop this right here. A big problem that people have here is they want to get back on the throttle real quick between 10 and 11. There's no point. 11 is the slowest corner that we have at Thunderhill. Don't get on the throttle. There's really nothing you're going to do except make you blow the braking zone and the turn in for 11. So if you need to, just stay neutral throttle or maintenance throttle. Between 10 and 11, you can throttle a bit, but don't get hard on it, especially some of these newer cars that have 500 horsepower. It's just gonna ruin it for you. So I'm gonna see if I can find where the hash mark is. I'm gonna let it flow first. Oh, take a look at this. Take a look at all the tire marks going on the inside. Why? What happened that caused that? They went too early. No, they didn't go too early. They probably let go of the throttle as they came out of 10. They were probably going to blow off of 10, push wide, They're already loaded up to the left. They lifted and immediately spun them onto the inside of turn between 11 and 12, or 10 and 11. That's exactly what happened there. So let's see what this looks like. There's the hash marks. See them? Exactly. This goes uphill. And for our event, we put these tires there because so that we don't cheat through those. It's worth a second. Oh, this is important, really important. That was turn, I'm going to go back. That was actually 13. They call that 13. But if you notice, when I'm on 13, I'm actually riding on the berm. So that berm is super smooth with the track. You want your left tires, and it's about 2 feet wide. You want your left tires on that berm as far towards the grass as possible because it straight lines it. So let's see if we can take a look and see those hash marks that I'm talking about. Here they are, right there. You can see them. Now, this was 2017 when I shot this video. I think there's only one hash mark now because they went back and they repaved it or something, but they put it back. Follow whatever the hash mark is because, oh my, that is a cheat for you. It tells you exactly where your turn in is supposed to be. And when you get that, then it is perfect. This is a critical corner for do not get on the throttle until you know you can get on the apex. You have to have your car turned all the way to the left and pointed towards that apex before you get on the throttle because it's so slow. It's slightly off camber. You're going up a hill. You'll spin the car. Easy there. Easy, easy, easy. All right. Let's go through this and take a look on turn 13, how far my tires are onto the berm to the left. So that was 11. This one's considered 12 where the tires are. Take a look at where I drive. Look, it's so smooth. You know, look at me. It looks like it's dead center of my car, but it's actually to the left, right? That's where you want your tires to be. So after you come out of 12, you have no choice but to track all the way to the right. And then you're naturally going to move over to get back on turn 13. This is the next passing zone. And so what you want to do is you want to get out to the right and then as quickly as you can get back over onto the left-hand side of the track. So the passing zone, the line is on the left-hand side. And as Nancy was saying, hey, are there any opportunities for me to ever go over the top? This is the one where you go over the top. This is where you're going to be pointing people over to the right. And again, it's one per car. One car, you bring the hand back down, another car, and allow them to go. All right. So that's how you're going to be doing turns here. But you want to get over as quickly as possible. This does no good to anybody. Doing this and then slowly until you get over here, nobody can get by at all. So quickly as you can, get back over to the left and then go. There's another crest here. There's also a bridge. You can't see past that. You can't see past the crest. And so there's massive elevation changes here. It's awesome. This is one of the reasons why Thunderhill is so much fun. It's not just flat. So I've driven Sebring up in Florida. Sebring is amazing, but it is flat. There is nothing like what we have here. We are so fortunate. Laguna, Sonoma, Thunderhill. Oh, our tracks are amazing. All right. So now we're going to come down into 14. There will be some sort of brake markers. Hopefully, maybe there's going to be cones. This is an area where you should be practicing threshold braking. If there is no one behind you, no one, and tell your instructor, hey, yeah, you know what? I kind of am a little uncertain about how Kevin was explaining to me how hard I'm supposed to. Can we try threshold braking? I don't want any cars behind me. Look for it. And what you do is, and this is another great thing out of the car control clinic. During the car control clinic, they talk to you about threshold braking. They set up a little lane type thing, and they say, when you hit this section of cone, you're 30 miles an hour. It's nothing. Right? When you hit this section of cones, hit your brakes as hard as possible. And your car will come to a stop and they'll count how many cones. And you're like, okay, you did that in 8 cones. Who knows what it is? They've got a line of cones at the end of that 50 or 60 feet away, and they go, okay, that's the school bus full of children. I need you to do the exact same thing. You know your car is going to stop at 30 miles an hour in 8 cones. Make it so that the nose of your car comes within inches of hitting that school bus of children. That's threshold braking. And so we do the exact same thing here on track, except we want you to threshold brake until just before your turn-in point. So you work with your instructor to go, I kind of don't know how well these EBS yellows are going to work. Can we do this? Absolutely. There's no one behind you. Pick a point that is repeatable, a crack, one of those little thingy that's going to be standing up, and you get on the brakes hard, smoothly squeeze on the brakes hard, and find out where the distance is that your car stops. And if it's like, oh, I'm still 20 feet away from my turn-in point, you just adjust 20 feet later from where that crack was. And that allows you to learn, okay, this is what my car can do. You change your brake pads, you got to threshold brake all over again, right? But that's how you start to learn, hey, how do I get to, where I'm supposed to be turning in the whole entire flow. Turn 14. There is another little hash mark out on the edge of turn 14 all the way on the left-hand side of the track. There is a huge berm on the inside. We need you riding on the inside of that berm. You have to have your tires on the inside because this is very fast. It's very fast. Now, there is more room out here. That's extreme. But there is more concrete here. This is just, a representation of where the edge of the track is. So you can use it. But what you want to do is make a nice smooth arc all the way around to 15. Remember, I can't draw, so it doesn't look like that. But that's what you're trying to do. So let's see what it looks like. So I come out of 13, I get back over. See how it's blind? It's actually a crest underneath the bridge. You can't see, and then all of a sudden now I can start to see everything. Corner worker on the left, brakes, 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 brakes. That berm that I am driving on, you can see everyone else's as well. You need to get on that berm. Get back on the throttle. Here's that turn 15 berm you don't want to touch. And then here I am back on the front straight. All right. Let's see if we can see where the hash mark is. Right there. So there's a couple of them. I think there's another one back here because this is not my turn-in zone, my turning point. There's it is. Did you see that one? Yep. There it is. I can just start. There it is. It's right there. That is the turn-in point for 14. But if you notice, there's the berm here. It is covered in rubber. You got to get, and that one also is about 2 feet wide. And so you're cheating yourself of the exit. Fortunately, there's a lot of concrete out in 14. There's a lot of concrete out there, so you're not gonna run away with anything. But you have to get to the inside of 14 and be on that berm. And then in your cars, the 2E46s, you're going to be upshifting up into your next gear in between. Don't shift in the corner. There's a small little patch in there. Do your upshift there. Or if you're not comfortable, wait until after you get out of the apex to do your upshift, right? But you'll be winding it out in third, right? So anyway, that's Thunderhill. You ready for it? It's next weekend, yes?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you're ready for it.
Hell yeah.